Hi everyone, very good morning. Welcome back to ITOM Batch 3, Day 15. How are you doing guys today?
Doing good, Ajay.
Good to hear. Thank you. So, is there any questions before starting the next sessions today? Is there any questions from that earlier covered sessions? Any questions from anyone?
No, Ajay, I haven't go through that. I'll try to go through today at least because due to other work.
Sure, no issues. Then yeah, let's get started. Just one moment only. I'm just opening my ServiceNow instance. So today's we are going to be discuss the second prereq about discovery. So as of now, what we have discussed about the discovery. First prereq is mid servers and how we can install the mid servers. We have discussed second prereq for the discovery, which is that credentials, and the third prereq is firewall policies, right? So as I mentioned, firewall policies, the prereq, you just need to be submit the request to the customer and customer will open that firewall policies on their network, right? So I cannot showcase you, but I can showcase you how you can validate that firewall policy is enabled or working properly for that machine. So you can telnet that particular things from the mid servers on the specific IP, right? And whatever the credentials will provided by the ServiceNow, we need to be create in ServiceNow those credentials and do the discovery, right? We are going to be discuss on those things, and then we also going to be discuss what are the ways to configure or to run the discovery basically, right? So we are going to be discuss on those particular things. So meanwhile, it's open. Let me connect to that my Windows server as well. Yeah, that is also done. Okay, so let's talk about the credential first. So in the left navigation panel, once you type the credentials under the discovery, you can see the credentials, right? Just open it and you can see there are lots of credentials available. I hope we have not discussed about that one earlier, right?
No, Ajay.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So, by default, when, ServiceNow instance is coming, or, you are enabling the ServiceNow discovery plugin on your PDI, as well as that, custom environment, that sometimes the demo data comes, right? So that is some examples of the demo data, which is credentials already available, where if you see the public string, its name is a public, username is not there, it's just an MP community v string, and that order is 99995 times 9s basically. So why they have configured or why they have put it this particular public string? Because whenever a new network device purchased by a customer, by default a community string configured on that device that is public. The name is public, and also the password of that means is also public. And sometimes customer also not deactivating this particular public community. So hence, if a customer is not deactivated, if you are running the discovery on IP using that, the public community will also help out to discover lots of devices, but that will run in the end of every or whatever the credentials we have configured after testing those credentials only, right? It will run on the end. The same way, Windows mid server service account is there, which if you want to use the service account for the discovery, you can use, or that also can be useful to run the discovery basically, right? And that let's go to the new and let me showcase you how, or what type of credentials we have available. If you see, we have approx 25 plus credentials types available here, which are going to be served the different purpose of each type, right? So if I go now with down Windows credentials, right? So let me open Windows credentials. Windows credentials is specifically used for Windows related discovery, right? So what you have to do, you have to be put the name, you have to be put active, apply on specific mid servers, or all mid servers. So it's also very useful that if you want to use that when you are running the Windows discovery and you want only a single mid server is going to be apply that particular credentials, you can use the specific mid server and you can select the mid server from here. Okay, one moment. Yeah, so I have two mid servers active on as of now on this machine. This is ITOM training and the Windows mid. So you can use any mid servers to connect it, right? Second thing, if you want to be allow that credentials from the all mid servers, you can keep it like that only. Order is defining what order you are putting. Sometimes can be possible if you have a huge number of machines which you want to be discover. So customer will give you 2 3 or 5 credentials of Windows based on the domain or based on without domain, or sometimes customer says no, I don't want to be use a single credentials across all the Windows server, let's use this one for this particular chunk, this particular IPs, that particular credential A will be working, and credential B will be working for this particular IPs, right? So order will give you, help you to define which whatever the last order that is going to be triggered on the first priority by when you're running discovery, basically, right? So order, like 100 order is going to be triggered on first, and 1000 order is going to be triggered on the last. This is a simple thing, right? So it help you to define, if this is a particular credentials which is going to use by most of the devices, you can put the order less for that particular credential. So every time discovery runs, we'll check for that particular credential only. Second thing, that if you think that is not going to use much for the discovery purpose, so you can use, or you can configure, or provide the order for on the larger side, basically, right? Then username and password you can provide. Whatever the username password will be shared by the customer, but make sure that customer will provide you the domain, right? So if customer is providing you the domain, so domain example of the customer is test, and the username will be admin, and the password will be provided by the customer. So make sure you're using in this particular format if you are going to be configure the Windows domain credentials. If customer is not providing you the domain, just use dot slash. So dot slash will going to be refer the local account on that particular machine which you have created, and that password you have to be provide. Second thing is, you can also do, or you can also run the discovery using the mid server service account. So if you remember, we have created a mid server local service account If you want use that one to run the discovery, you can also check this one and just save it, right? Without username, putting username and password. If every time when we are running discovery, credentials will be used from the service account specifically. But in that case, what is must, the service account should be synced with all Windows servers. If it is not, then it will not work, right? So let's do, this is the one of the type of credentials. Let's create one Windows credentials basically first. So I have one Windows credentials available. I'm going to use this one. Not bad. And the name you can put based on your understanding, so you can understand that credential is specific for that particular domain, and you can identify basically, right? Also sometimes customer is again following the naming standards for that, those particular things. So you can consult, you can check with the customers if they are following any specific standard naming standards. You can configure based on that, right? So I'm just unchecking this one. Let me save this up now. Not ask me guys why I use work group, right? I specifically putting work group, and it's nothing. It's just only instead of dot, I have used work group. So it don't be confused in that one. I can put the dot as well. I can put the work group for those machines who are not connected or not joined with any domain. If machines most of the time, or 99% time, your customer machines always joined or connected through the the particular domain, and you have to use the domain instead of work group to connect or to discover that particular machines, right? So I've just created these credentials. Let's do the test first, right? So let me do the test. Anyone knows why I'm going to be query on port 135 here? Any
Windows
idea?
Server.
Yes. So because we are just testing that particular credentials for Windows, and port 135 is WMI port, which is required for the Windows discovery. That's why I'm doing, right? Let's do one more thing. Let me try on port 22, these particular credentials. Let's see. Is this working? It's working. Wow. Why? It's port 135. Let me do again. It's strange. I never tried this one because I thought that credentials is only for Windows, so it should be working for Windows. But somehow when I put in the port 22 and connecting this one, that's working. But that's strange. That's not the good one. That credentials should not be work for those particular things. I think there's some issue with that, right? I will check it, right? No issues. So that is done. We can also test the credentials for that particular IP on the port 135, and we can validate that credentials is working, right? Now let's do one thing as well. So that is the credential validation we tested, right? The same way we can also test that firewall policies were connected properly or not on that machine, right? So let me go down. Let's go to that R instance. Sorry. Oh. So anyone remembers what is the application name which we used to do that connection test or the telnet?
Port query.
Port query.
Right, port query. So I'm going to be, because my existing ServiceNow instance in the mid server is vanished. So I need to be install the port query again here. So I'm just going to download the port query. Somehow today that the mid server is running very slow. I already typed download, but still it's very slow. Ah, shit. It's disconnecting again and again. I'm on the correct network. Okay, let's wait for that one. Meanwhile it's happening. Let's do one thing. Let's go with another credentials as well, right? So this is the one of the credentials which is used for Windows credentials. The same way you have VMware credentials, which is going to use for vCenter or VMware discovery. It's the same type of credentials. You can require username and password, which you can configure here with domain or without domain, and you can use that for particular discovery, right? The next is SSH credentials. Again, it's the same username and password type of credentials, but that should be provided, or that should be shared by a Linux team or SSH team, basically, right? So I'm just creating SSH credentials as well. Right, so let me create that one. Username is disco_1. Again, you can apply for that, specific mid servers or all mid servers. You can do that, or you can also do that. Let me save this. Let me test the credentials for SSH as well. Right, let's do the test. Credential is validated. Let's try in the different way as well, like we tried with that one. Is this particular credentials will also working for I'm not surprised if it is working. I'm just testing that the same credentials on the same IP on the port 135C could not connect to the specific port. Basically, the port which is open on that machine is only 22. Port 3135 is not opened or not connected to the mid servers. That's why you are able to get that error, right? Let me do one thing as well, just to showcase you. If I use this IP and using the same credentials, where I am go, let me go this, and putting on port 22, this one. So that is 119 is Windows Server IP, but again you can see from the port 22 is not open, that one as well from here, and that's why you are able to see that again could not connect to the specific port, right? So you from here you just simply again if I said you can test the credentials and you can also validate the firewall policies as well, right? But the best way to validate the firewall policies is just through the your mid servers, right? So I'm just going to download the port very quickly. Okay, that's done. Let's go to the C drive. It's not done. It's not installed properly. Where is port query? It's not working. Let me do one thing. One moment. Hmm. Yes. Right. So did you able to see the difference? What I did basically? So we have downloaded two files. One is port query v2.exe and what is port query ui.exe. The correct one is the port query ui.exe, which is giving us the user interface basically, and which we are going to use the telnet, all the things. Right. So let's do one thing. The IP I have copied this one. Let me do the manual port because that IP belongs to port 135. It's a TCP IP. Let's query this one. It's strange, right? So what is giving? Yeah. So if you see here, querying target system called this, attempting to resolve IP address to a name, IP address resolve this name in EC2 internal querying TCP 135 port EP map services is listening, right? So the port is running on that one. If I do that same thing for port 22 on the same IP, let's do. This is TCP port 22 is not listening, means it's not working basically on that particular IP, right? If I put UDP port 22, that also UDP is listening or filtered, right? It's again listening or filtered. It means it's not connected properly. That firewall policy is not open for that particular port as well, right? The same way, let's try to port 135 on that UDP. It's also saying the listening or filtered, means it's also not connected properly. If it is connected properly, it means it simple says listening, not list. If it is not connected properly, means not listening or filtered basically, right? Let's try the same thing for the second another IP, which is Linux server IP. Let me do. Okay, let's try with port 135. On that is Linux server IP basically. Port 35 is again going, we are getting listening or filtered, but if I'm putting 22, that should be saying listening only. No, it's oh, I'm doing on UDP, right? Sorry. Yeah, see, so port 22 is listening directly here. If I put port 135 again for TCP, let's try a hit of it as well. It taking more time as than usual, right? So let's see. It's all again coming filtered, means it's not connecting to that particular machine, right? So this, that is something which we have to also do the test before going for running any discovery or anything, right? So it will help to give, or it's not about to, testing all IPs to be do that, port query or the telnet command. It just basically for, we can pick a couple of IPs from there, and on those couple of IPs we can, test the connectivity, and we can confirm to the network team or the firewall teams ki yes, the firewall policy is working. We have tested for a couple of IPs, so it will give you a surety or a confirmations, yes, the firewall policy is enabled properly and it's that's working basically, right? Now let's go back to the discovery credentials basically. So I've just configured credentials. We have tested that one. Let's go back here. There are in SSH, there is one more credentials type, which is also going to use couple of times by the customer, which is SSH private key credentials, right? So because SSH credentials is not that much secure. So instead of using SSH normal credentials, username and password, for the more security purpose, you can use the SSH private key credentials, where customer is going to be provide the username, password, fastface, private key, and the SSH certificate, which you have to be configure here. And again, you can do the test credentials for that. So once you receive that particular information from the customer, right? Then we have SSL store key store credentials SNMP v3, right? So let's talk about SNMP v3, which is again related to discovery one. So there are two credentials in SNMP, right? SNMP v2 or v3. In SNMP v2, you are not getting anything, only you will receiving a password, and that password we always say community string, right? So as I mentioned already, there is one public community string configured, so I just put type public here. So you can also get the same community string for v2 SNMP passwords, right? SNMP community string is that we call v2. And when we are talking about v3, there are, these particular things there. Username will be there provided by the customer again. So authentication protocol can be anything from this. Then authentication key, then privacy protocol can be anything from this, and the privacy key. So that informations will be provided by the customers to you guys, and based on that you can configure the credentials. Next is OpenStack credentials. If you are going to be discover the OpenStack auth, when you are doing integrations, and the credentials provided by no customer is not using the basic auth, so you can also use the OAuth token based credentials, right? Mid web server API credentials, you can use it Kafka, JMS. So that is depend based on the device type, whatever you want to be discovered or whatever you want to be connected, right? JDBC, like if you are going to be connect to a data source through that JDBC connections, you can use this one. Google Cloud credentials, this is basically for GCP, right? If you want to discover the Google Cloud, you need to be the customer will provide you the client email and the private key, and you can configure that one basically, right? Now Docker, if you are going to be discover the Docker things, you can use this one. Cloud management credentials, that is basically going to use if you are using for if I'm not wrong, for the cloud management purpose basically, right? Same credentials is going to use for that storage discovery, right? So storage, if you want to discover storage, you can use the same credentials, and that will be provided by the customer again. But in the same credentials, you don't have the test credentials capability, right? So make sure when you're asking to the customer, the credentials are correct, or you can only test those particular credentials after running the discovery on specific IP, right? The second next is certificate management credentials, that is going to for certificate things. Basic auth credentials again is going to be used for integrations and other things. Azure, there are three types of or four types of Azure credentials basically. Azure Enterprise Agreement, SS, Service Principal, and all, right. But most of the time we are going to use the Azure Service Principal credentials, where customer is going to be provide again name, tenant ID, client ID, authentication method or the secret key, that will be provided by the customer, and based on that you are going to be run the discovery on it. But it's a good thing here when you are doing cloud credentials, going to use it. Let me configure something. Right, let me save this one here. So once you, because in normal credentials, you are able to do the test credentials for specific IP. But if your credentials, you are using credentials for cloud, specifically for Azure and GCP and AWS, you have the capability to discover subscriptions, right? So if your credentials are correct, once you click on the discover subscriptions, one discovery will be triggered, and you can see the all subscriptions which is connected to that particular credentials is discovered and populated here, and that is the reference again of the service account table basically, right? So if I go here and just to showcase you, this is the service account table under cloud provisioning and governance, and that will also create it here automatically, right? So it's again the validation or testing of the credentials using these particular things basically. Then AWS credentials, we have it again, that is the same type of credentials like which we have used in Azure side. Access key and secret key will be provided by the customer. Applicative credentials is mostly going to use if you want to discover applications or that things which is running on a particular servers where you don't have the access on it, right? So sometimes what will happen when you are running discovery on Windows machine and on Windows a specific application or a database running, but customer not provided you access to that particular database or the applications through the Windows credentials, right? So in that case, you required applicative credentials, and applicative credentials will is little bit more specific for applications purpose, right? If I put Apache, I just want to be discover Apache server, customer will provide us username and password. If I just want to discover database, you can see there are lots of database. But if I more specific, Oracle. So Oracle, we have different type of things there. But if I just want to discover the Oracle database, is also there, right? Where it is, yeah, Oracle database is there, or our listeners is there, right? So you can use that particular tables to discover that specific device. If customer is not provided you access to the base credentials which is going to use to discover the host basically, right? So these are the credentials basically, and that's you are able to validate that particular things. Any questions in that one before moving to the next things, guys?
Ajay, so in the port query, right, the IP that you provided, so where you got that IP from?
Where I got this one, these IPs.
Yeah, the first one, yes.
So I got it from Now Learning instance.
Uh, which instance? Like,
Now Learning, I got it from Now Learning. If I go to showcase you, which whatever I just showcased here. Okay, so from here to see create credentials, I can get it from here, right? So IPs is there, right?
okay.
So why? Because getting that particular enterprise little tough. So what I'm trying to follow, apart from that, points or what I feel that should be required, I'm also following or covering that particular course to you guys, so you are able to understand, right? So if I go here, that is something which is basics, right? So we covered about mid servers, validate mid server installation, because here it's only validate mid servers, but I covered about how to install mid servers and how you can troubleshoot and all, right? Then I'm on now. As of now, I just skip this one because that's not, you cannot do run discovery without credentials and access, right? So I'm on this particular part, credentials and behavior and all the things. So we covered today credentials things, we covered today firewall policies. After that, I'm going to be showcase you that the discovery schedules, discovery behaviors, and all, and again we'll come back to the running discovery after that, right? So I'm just trying to follow this particular path, but also adding my content in it, so it will very helpful to get the clarifications of each and everything.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
someone
I have
raised.
another question, Ajay. So the in the credential part, you are giving the username and password, right? So
Mm.
do we have to create that same local username and password in this remote desktop, remote Windows server as well?
Yes, so basically it's just simple thing. Let me give you an example here. If I need to access your laptop, if I need to connect with your laptop through RDP, how I am able to access it? I'm going to use your credentials only, right? So might be you're using username is pallavini.sahu or the password is XYZ, right? So going to be connect with that only. So if that is created on your machine, then only I'm able to do that, right? Otherwise I cannot do that. So already which credentials we have used here, the administrator for Windows or whatever the password it is for that particular IP, that is already added in the users table of that particular server. Then only we are able to discover or we are able to connect it, right? So what happens basically when you are going to submit a requirement to the customer, ki I need to run discovery on your Windows, Linux or whatever the device is, you are giving that I need these credentials type for this particular type of credentials for Windows, this particular type of credentials for SSH or the network, and based on that customer provision that specific username for the discovery that we call service accounts on each machine, and then you are able to discover it. Till the time you are not able to do or not able to connect that particular machine. I hope I'm able to clarify you.
Okay, so apart from service account, we like there should be a local user created with the same username and password, whatever we are using in our service now credential, right? Service now instance credential, right?
You are going to be little confused now. No, don't be asked, don't be confused with the local user, because that machine is not in domain. That's why we create or we use the local user. But in the customer side, if customer you having the domain, what he will do, let me explain you on that particular thing. Simple. He will go his on domain controller. He will create a username XYZ. He will put a password and sync that particular domain, a username and password to all machines which is connected, all Windows machine which is connected to that particular domain controller. Simple, right? So, and that credential which he's created there, that he will share with you for discovery, and you come to ServiceNow, you just configure that credentials and run the discovery of Windows. The same way for SSH. If SSH connected through the domain or means the Linux machines connected through the domain, that is going to use it. If it is not connected through the domain, they have the scripts. They just put the IPs. They will put the username and password and run the script from the backend on the all Linux machine that will create it. It's just like that you are configuring the background script to delete the records or update the records in ServiceNow, right?
Okay.
So they have also that capabilities, but end of the day they have to be create a username or password or credentials basically on those machines which we want to be discover. It can be local, it can be domain, it can be whatever. It depends on, varies on customer to customer, but we are not do anything here.
Okay.
Okay, that will be provided by the customer only.
Okay.
Yes, Abhi, you raise your hand.
Yeah, yeah. Regarding this applicative discovery or the application discovery, so both are same or
Sorry, you are asking for applicative credentials, right?
applicative credential and application discovery. So both are same. Like if we are supposed to discover any application, then we need to configure those applicative credential or
No, don't be confused in application discovery. Application discovery is something where you're going to be do the top to down discovery for particular application or application service, right? So
yes,
as I earlier mentioned, there are two things, right? So let's take an example here again. I need to discover your Windows machine or whatever you're using, right? I am first of all, I'm going to be discover your machines and I'm going to be get that informations about installed softwares, running processes, or that hardware capabilities, and that port, RAM, hard disk, or everything about your laptop, right? And under that, when we are going to be discover, if you install Microsoft Office as an application, Teams as an application, and other things. That is also going to be discovered, and that's going to be created in different classes as well, right? Based on the ServiceNow hierarchy they have designed it, right? The same way, this is your horizontal discovery. Again, whatever application is installed in your machine, you are also going to be say that my application is discovered, application discovery, right? But this is not the actual application discovery. Application discovery is when we are going to be connect, or when we are going to be discover the all component that application is served, right? So let me give an example here in the different way. Now you install Teams on your laptop or Microsoft Office on your laptop. You have installed a application in your machines to use it, but somehow your customer managing that particular data on somewhere on the portal side, right? Where he can manage how many users are using that particular application, right? And that is connected to the Microsoft server, right? So if we are going to be going little bit deep dive on your application or whatever install in your laptop, and connecting a hierarchy from top to down, that we called application discovery, not that one. Basically that's our softwares, not application. First of all, right, application is something which is going to be used by business. Right. So in your organization, let me give you an example of application is like you are using a timesheet application, right? Where you are filling the timesheets, your holiday or vacations applications, where you are putting your vacations or holidays or leaves, basically, right? That are the application. If that is not working, example, if that is not working, your complete entire team or complete organization will be impacted. They are not able to fulfill or submit your vacations or the leave informations on that particular portal. So that portal which is working is designed and somewhere in the backend infra, right? So might be there is load balancer, or might be there is web server or the database or application server. And when we are connecting those particular component together, then we call application discovery. I hope you're able to correlate now.
Yeah, Jay, it's clear now. So, is it possible to have an example if that is fine with you?
Like like I have already given multiple examples earlier, but yeah, let me give you one more, right? So are you using Airtel application, Airtel app,
Yeah. So,
or
Ajay, example means like if live any demo kind of thing, if you can give. Theoretical, I am bit clear now. So,
okay,
if possible for application discovery, like what are prerequisite? Because in live environment, we are going to do that very soon. So,
right?
just I want to
But
understand. Like,
uh, if prereq, that's basically the application discovery or these particular things comes in service mapping, right? If I
okay.
just moved out from directly from this particular point to service mapping, I think that's not good.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
got
And
it.
we are going to cover that one, but it will take some time to reach that level.
Okay, okay, sure, no problem.
Right. But there is nothing much differences. If I quickly just want to tell you, it's application discovery depends on your horizontal discovery, first of all, right? Second thing, you required couple of configuration file access to discover or to connect to that particular applications to the next level applications, right? Third thing, you have to be create the connection patterns. Basically, if out of the box create connection pattern is not available for those devices, right? And fourth thing is you required a complete architecture from the customer to understand how it looks like. Let me quickly, I just have something. Let me, oh, one moment. I think, if you need that one, then, you can refer this particular Excel where it is mine. No, not this one. Okay, I will do one thing. I will share with you that particular sheet with you, right? So you are able to get, yeah, I will do that. So I will I
Okay,
will share that particular Excel sheet which have prereq for application service mapping. Basically, you can refer it, and basically we required lots of informations to be complete that one. But the main prereq is any other questions from anyone?
Sorry, Ajay, I
I
lost
have
your
a
voice.
question.
So I mentioned I will share you the details with you
Okay,
or
okay.
the
Yeah,
access
thanks.
with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yes, guys. Any other questions?
Ajay, I have a question. Like
Mm-hmm.
as you mentioned, when you're doing on the host side, like you mentioned firewall policy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How do we check the firewall policy is enabled on the host? Like,
Through the port query, through the connection, telnet.
okay, is there any other way? Like I know in the port query, it is like filtered, leaving something that conditions you are getting. But instead of that, is there any other alternate way to check it?
You can run the command prompt through the command prompt. You can run the command telnet space IP space port. Filtered or something. It's why because filtered or not listening is something that is not connected to that device. Means the policy is not working for that one. In simple words, right? We are here just to be responsible to submit our requirement to customer. Ki, sir, we need that connectivity from source A to destination B on these particular specific port. Now they will go, they will open their checkpoint or whatever firewall they are using. They are going to be allow the traffic from source A to destination B on the specific port, right? As I mentioned, randomly we can check it through the telnet command or through the port query, right? For picking couple of IPs on it, right? So if I mention you, if we can also do from here as well, right? So if I open command prompt, let me open in the different way. One moment. I'm just opening as an administrator because I don't have the complete rights on that machine, right? So what I need to do, telnet, I can put this IP 198.51.188.74 on port 135. Oh, it's Linux, right? Port 22. If I enter this one, because telnet is not enabled on that machine, that's why I'm not able to run it. And that error or that issue you are also going to be faced multiple times. Customer is not going to be allowed to do the telnet from here. So it means you have to go with the port query. If you are running a command or if you are running a, this, if you are getting a sit port 22, this is a Linux machine. If you are getting listening means your connection is connect. If you are getting filtered or not, then your connection is not correct, means firewall policy is having some issues. You're not able to reach out to the destination from this particular source. And why we are doing from the mid server itself, because mid server is going to be connect end of the day to the target machines to collect the data, right? My mid server IP is going to be exposed to their network only, not the service now, not the service now URL, right? That's why we put it mid server as a middleware, which is going to be connect with that. I hope you are able to get it right. And also, that is one thing. We can also do the ping as well, right? Let me see if ping is enabled on that machine or not. But ping it just give you the informations. Yes, your machine is up and running. It will not give you the confirmations about that your machine is connected or enabled. Firewall policy is enabled for a specific port, right? Ping just give you like if I call you Mastan, right, and you respond yes Ajay, right? So it means you are open, you are connected to me, right? And that response we are getting in the telnet basically. If I specifically ask your name, I am able to reach you, right? And you responded, right? So that is telnet command. And if I just just check hi, I just wave you and you just wave me, right? So it means That is something you are up, you are working fine. That we are can check from the ping command basically from the command prompt.
Got it, Ajay. And that is the only message like where we confirm that is a firewall policy. If you get message in the port query, yeah.
No, no.
Here
So
it is listening, right? Suppose if it
uh,
is getting filter, means it means say that that is a firewall policy issue.
yes.
Okay.
So if it is coming filtered or not listening is completely, it's not enabled, right? By default. But if it is filtered or listening, filtered or listening coming, might be it's enabled or not. So you can do the run discovery and check it immediately for that
If
time.
if firewall policy is restricting us, that time we need to connect it with the host
Network team.
team, like a network team. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Immediately we
Got
have to connect with the network team. Yes, sir, we have submitted a request. Might be, now the thing is there are a couple of different ways to submit that request. Customer sometime customer is following, the email, like you just drop an email to the network team, they will take care from there. Or sometime customer is following, to create a request or RITM on the ServiceNow instance itself or any other tool as well, right? So you have to be submit, you have to be provide the source and destination as well, right? So it's varies, term conditions to conditions and customer to customer, but end of the day the firewall or the network team will be responsible for that to be enable the firewall policy, and you have to be connect back with them again.
Yep,
Okay.
sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, any other questions, guys, or shall I move to the next thing? Okay.
Ajay, I have one more question, which is
Yeah.
to credential part.
Mm-hmm.
Where when you are saying that in the credential side, you say that V3 and V2,
Mm-hmm.
something you mentioned, right?
Right, so
What
that
exactly that means?
so it just the versions of SNMP or network devices. Right. There are three total versions till now, which is released by the network for network devices. It's just like ServiceNow versions, right? So in ServiceNow you have you are running on Genedu right now, right? And next is coming Yokohama and then Zurich and all, right? But the same way for SNMP, a simple network mail protocol or for network devices which we are using, three versions is there. One is V1, then V2C, and then V3, right? And there are a couple of internal other versions is V2.1, 2.2 is there, but that is not that much, right? So these are the three popular versions, and most of the time V1 is also not going to be used by the customer for now. V2 and V3 is going to be used it, and the credentials they will provide you, right? It depends which device they are using and they are giving you to discovery. It can be might be a legacy device and it's only supporting V2 only, not V3, right? So they will provide you V2 credentials, and if it is supporting V3, they can create a V3 credentials on that machine and they will share with you that V3 credentials. Okay, so it's just a
Okay,
device versions basically for those what is supported by them. Yes, go ahead.
okay, Ajay. Is that they're going to mention like okay, this is for V3 and this is for V2, like that? Did they mention like?
You know, they from the credential itself you are able to get it, right? If only they are passing, if they are not mentioning specifically, if they are only giving you community string or only a password, there is no username, nothing, it's V2. If they are giving you authentication protocol, privacy key, authentication key, or the username, that means it's V3. Simple. Credential itself, describing what type of
Okay,
sub they have it,
got
right?
it.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions, guys? I think we are running out of time. Just need to be take care of one more topic.
Yeah, so Ajay, I have a query. So, how do I create like can is it possible to create Windows credentials?
Shiva, your voice is blurring, right? Not able to hear you clearly.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
So I'm asking, is it possible to create a Windows credentials? Because I don't have now learning access.
So where you want to be create Windows credential? I'm not getting it.
On the Azure, I've installed Windows Server right there.
Yes, yes. So when you configured your Azure Windows Server, you have also created credentials there itself, right? To access that machine. That is the credentials you can use for discovery.
Oh, okay. Those are the Windows
Right.
credentials.
Right. On the first page, when you are going to be create Azure, we ask you the username and password to be put it, right?
Yes, yes.
This credentials is a Windows credential. If you want to do it more credentials configured, just log into the Windows machine like this way. Where? Yeah, like this way. Access that particular machines using RDP. Go to computer management. Go here. Let me open it. One moment. Oh, yeah. Go to users. Just create whatever the users you want it, right? This is the users only. And you can use that the same user to run discovery, but what you have to do, you have to be add that particular user to the administrator group. Here in the groups, go to this and add that particular user here. Simple.
Oh,
Same
okay. I've
users.
already created user, so I can add in under administrator and can use that as a Windows credentials, right?
Right.
Okay.
Simple. Yeah. Okay, let's move to the next thing now. Which is quick discovery and ways of the discovery, right? So where is my instance? Yeah, this one. So there are a couple of ways to run the discovery. Let me go to the discovery schedule. Right, where is my discovery schedule? Under discovery, we have discovery schedules. Let me close this, all these things. I hope credentials are saved. Okay, leave it. So we have two ways, right? One is new or one is quick discovery. So let's quickly discuss about quick discovery. Quick discovery is something where you can use discovery for specific IP quickly on, and that will be for very on single IP basically, right? So let's take an example, not slot. Let's take this one. Let's take the mid server IP. Where is my mid server? Oh my god. Okay, here. Right, so that IP is 198.51.172.29. 198.51.172.29. 198.51.172.29. Okay, I am going to use a mid server here. So here you have the capability to choose the mid servers, which mid server is going to be used, right? So I'm just using this one, running the quick discovery. Till the time it's running, we'll discuss for something else, right? So let's open this one. Let's go back. So under discovery schedules, you have quick discovery. If you want to quickly run discovery on a single IP, you can run it and you can check that particular discovery status, right? From here. Then we have discovery schedules under new, right? So here in this particular new, you have multiple ways to configure the discovery schedules, like when you want to be run, you want to be run on demand, on weekly basis, periodically basis, right? What you want to be discovered, you want to be discover the configuration item, IP address, network, cloud application, serverless comes in the picture when you want to discover the Nutanix, you want to discover the services or the certificates, right? The same, you want to use auto select mid server, means you have multiple mid servers and mid server capabilities having discovery, or application supported application having discovery. So auto select mid server will be work. Specific mid server cluster if you want to be do the clustering, right? Clusters we have discussed, if I'm not wrong, right? If not, I will cover. Yeah. And then we have specific mid servers, right? And we use behaviors. We are going to be discuss about the behaviors, right? So there are different ways to do that. again, mid-server, if you're mid-server cluster, you can select the cluster. If you're using behavior, you can select the behaviors, name, locations you can populate for those particular CIs here itself, maximum time you can configure. Why I'm just doing quickly, because we are running out of time. So we will discuss a little bit on those particular things tomorrow. But yeah, it just a, scheduling your discovery for what and where you want to be do that, right? You can use, once you submit it, you can put the IP addresses, comma separated or ranges, and that will run the discovery, right? So we'll discuss tomorrow on those particular discovery schedule a little bit more, but till the time, let's see. We have run a discovery on Windows machine. What is the status of it, right? Yeah, it's created, it's discovered. So it just, we quickly, what I did, I quickly pull that IP of the mid server from here and run the discovery on that particular IP, right? So it's discovered, it's showing created, right? It's showing created and updated as an activity, and I think it's completed. Yeah, it's completed, right? So if quickly, let me do one thing. No, it's not correct. Let me do get to a. Yeah. Did you able to understand from this particular ECCQ status? There are the 4 phases. The first phase is SASAM. Second phase is classification. Third phase is identification where pattern launch, and this particular phase is your exploration phase where Windows application dependency install software is coming through that, right? So these are the 4 phases which we are always discussing about ServiceNow discovery, right? In the, if any issue on the device, or what the status of the device is discovered or not discovered, it's created or not created. If it is created and updated, it means it's discovered properly, and that is no issue. If is there an issue still, you can see that issue details here as well, right? The discovery logs here, discovery logs will showcase you this discovery started, what is, escape, what the status. Let me do A to G again for this one. Yeah, discovery started, skipping this one. Active now, classify means it's reached to the classification phase. Classified now, identifying, again it means it's reached to that identification. Exploring CI pattern means it started for exploration pattern, and then update CI and a discovery completed, right? So these are the things you are able to see in a discovery status. I think will again going to be discussed tomorrow. Let me keep this one discovery status, or we can run yesterday again, tomorrow again one more. Let me keep the IP for the time being here as well. Okay, so we are going to be discuss about little bit deep how and how you are able to check the logs, because it will take time. It is not the thing I am going to be covering 10 to 15 minutes, because I have to go with each and every topic or the things to showcase you how you are able to validate the logs or check the logs, and how you are able to check which credentials is validated here and what is the things, right? So we'll discuss on those things tomorrow. Like like as I see one thing from Shiva side. Shiva is really excited and working on the mid servers and those particular things. Again, requesting you guys, make sure you have also enabled or started your discovery things on your PDIs, on your mid servers, and you do something from your side. If you are doing something, definitely you will face the challenges or issues, and you can connect with me. Till the time you are not doing anything, whatever I'm going to be cover, I'm going to be cover anyhow, right? But if you do some practical things from your side, you can come, you can ask to me, and we can work together to resolve those particular issues, right? You're also doing some practice from your side and putting some efforts to get that particular training to be beneficial for you. Okay, yeah, any questions now?
Ajay, have a few real-time scenarios, like which is in my current organization. Shall I share you those details, like we can discuss while discovering? Well,
100%. Yeah.
Because
100%.
sorry.
No, go ahead, please. Yeah.
Because I have, in my organizations, we have a lot of, almost 5 to 6,000 errors are there.
Mm-hmm.
Hope you remember, like last time I was discussing with you.
Sure. Definitely, we'll discuss.
Sure,
100%.
Ajay. Because yesterday only I asked them to involve me in that.
Mm-hmm.
So they said that okay, they just go and look into those errors like that they mentioned.
Sure. Yeah.
I'll
We'll
update
look.
you there.
Yeah, 100%. No issues.
Yeah, thank you, Ajay.
Okay. Any other questions, Michael, Farida, Eklavya? How are you doing today?
Good. I'm good.
I'm better.
Okay. I think yeah. And then if we don't
I'm
have
good
any
also.
question, thank you, Ritam. Okay, so if you guys good, then I think we can wrap up the sessions now and we'll connect tomorrow. We'll proceed for the discovery schedules and the discovery logs for the particular CI and going to be discuss the further things as well, right? So till that time, yeah, thank you guys so much. Have a good, bye-bye.
All right. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajay. Thank you all. Bye bye.
Bye.